someone who's left the community was the other. But in a really serious way, Bill got things rolling legally, and then also presided over this commission for, Val, I don't remember, I think it was the better part of 10 years.
I think so. I think so. And then he came back
Someone who's left the community
as a member for a short time as well.
That's correct. Really serious. Yeah. So I felt when I heard the news, I was, of course, very sad to hear that, but I thought, you know, it may be that that work would be somehow overlooked in the community. And so my intention was just to remember him specifically for historic preservation initiatives. So I guess I have a couple of questions. One is, are we all comfortable with a letter like this going out in the name of the HPC? Are you comfortable sending it to the newspaper? And if those are true, are you comfortable affixing your name, or would you prefer that it be just signed by the chair for the commission, or any variation on that? Plus wording suggestions. This is only a first draft and I'm not wedded to any of the specific wording.
Well, you do have an extra word in what sentence? There's one sentence there. Now I don't see it.
I do this absolutely all the time.
Of course, now I don't see it. Oh, Bill was devoted to in historic preservation protections.
Ah, thank you. Line 3.
Yeah.
I think that's 2 sentences that kind of
got meshed. Yeah, it looks like it could be cleaned up.
Yep. Thanks, Sue.
Tom, I didn't know him, but based on his work, I think I would be perfectly comfortable having my name attached to this as a member of the commission, you know, to honor him, to honor, you know, one of the people who were instrumental in this commission. I think it's perfectly appropriate. So I hope that others feel that way too.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes,
Thanks.
I agree as well.
Okay.
And Pat is as well. So I think I didn't hear any objections. Chris, are you comfortable with having your name attached?
I'll put this here.
I'm gonna put it in my pocket.
Okay.
I put one on.
I'm not sure we need a motion
call.
specifically on this.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing,
Two.
Okay, Daddy.
oops,
Can you just
One.
so far is that we are
Two.
comfortable with the tenor of the letter. I can make that change on line 3. Is there anything that might be left out here, or any way to improve the letter?
If you don't mind, I would like to take a closer look after the meeting, and if there's anything I can add, I would certainly do that, because I think you and I probably have the longest history with him.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for that, Val, because I actually don't know how long he was at St. Andrews. I don't know if he had a title other than, I just used a kind of generic minister, but there may be a specific title.
Yeah,
that he
I can
enjoyed.
help with that.
That would be great. Is everybody comfortable then with this plan, that the letter will go signed by the HPC with all of our names listed, and that I will work with Val just to perhaps improve a couple of details? Everybody good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much. He was a really nice man and just did so much for the cause. Let's see. The second item, we're still within time. The second item is something that came up just recently from our own member, Pat, who is going to need to replace the roof on 15 South Oakwood, which I think everybody knows is both her house and a landmark. And so Pat was looking for some guidance on how much information we need if it's going to be a like-for-like replacement. Pat, feel free at any point to just text me a correction if I'm getting this wrong. But my understanding is that she is going to replace the color that approximates cedar, but she's going to have to lose some of the cedar trim. The roof proper is asphalt, but probably was originally cedar. But some of the trim, it's a Dutch colonial style, and some of the trim is still cedar, but that's pretty badly degraded. And so the question was, can we consider like for like a replacement of all the shingles, both cedar and asphalt, in a color that approximates what is on there now? So I'm just going to give Pat a second to confirm by text whether I have that right, and then we can open discussion. Pat says, no, I've got something wrong. And I'm awfully glad we're asking. So Pat, if you don't mind texting a correction, I'll relay that. Okay, different color. The current color is brown, and the one I'm approximating is from before the application of the brown. And give me 1 second. The one I'm approximating is from before this and included some cedar, so I want to do gray. Is that clear to everybody then? So the color is not going to be, the material is not going to be a color replacement, but Pat said gray is more like what the cedar probably was. Is there anyone who feels this is outside the bounds of like-for-like replacement? I feel comfortable that it is.
I feel fine.
May I just say something? I'm sorry. I think it's the roof shingles that will be gray, and the cedar siding, the wood siding, will be a darker brown. At least that was my initial conversation with Pat.
Okay. Pat's texting now just to get some clarity. The side, not now, Camilla's what she says. Pat, I'm wondering, would it put you behind to just clarify this at the next meeting? I can do a site visit with a mask on and get clearer and maybe share some photos with the HPC. Would it be troublesome if we push back to February? That's fine, she said. So let's everybody defer this until I can snap a couple of pictures and talk directly to Pat. And Val, if you wouldn't mind making a note that this is going to go on to the February meeting agenda.
Will do.
Okay. That's great. Defer 15. Okay. I think everybody, we're at 7:15 now, and I don't like to ask anybody to stay later than they need to, but it looks like we've got Mohammed. here. Mohammed, can you hear me okay? Oops.
Yes. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Thank you.
Of course, welcome. And
Thank you.
we've got Kim here, and we did hear that Andy Willingham has another meeting in Gardner tonight, so it's just going to be us. Kim and Mohammed, would you like to just briefly kind of remind everybody of the project and something about your projected time frame, so that we're just sort of back in the headspace of thinking about it?
Sure, Mo. I can talk, and then if you have anything else to add, you can feel free to do that.
Kim, if you want an image up, please let me know which one.
Okay, this one's good with the site plan's good. It's a good
Okay.
place to start. Thank you. I believe Roddy and Mo are in the process of getting a letter drawn up because they're going to work with the owner to the south, and on the site plan, if you can move it over a little bit, Roddy has graciously agreed to have the Empire Bike Trail go through his property. And so part of that will include us going through the adjacent parking lot to get into his parking lot. And so I think that's in process right now. So we're kind of moving forward with assuming that we're going to be able to do that, which is fantastic, because then it means you can come down the hill, cross the street, cross 32 right there, and scoot on through his property, get directly to the trail. So I do know that, of course, we are going to try to get to the next planning board meeting. Andy's ready to do that. And we were just kind of needed to talk to you guys and tell you a little bit about what we're doing with it, and hopefully get your buy-in. And then we can move forward with the planning board. And also, of course, and I can talk about it in a minute, but we'll need a variance on the height. And yeah, just like everybody, we're in a hurry.
Mm-hmm. Great. Kim. Did the planning board give you any guidance on at what stage you go for the variance, or have you already applied?
Mo, do you and Roddy, do you guys know?
Yeah, we're not there yet. They haven't given us a timeline yet, but I think they're waiting just for the easement, and they were waiting for confirmation on this trail first.
Okay.
So we're pretty close.
Got it. Thanks. Okay, great. Thanks. Val, I think maybe what would help now is to see some of the elevations, if everybody has been able to take in that. So one of the things Kim and I talked about sort of in a meeting after last HPC meeting, but some while ago, is the intent here is to kind of come off the more rectilinear form of zero place and transition into or toward the village with peaked roofs rather than flat roofs, and architectural details that start to pick up the roof lines of, I think I'm probably going to skip over Salvation Army, but soon after that we get into roof lines that look more like this. And so that's something that I would say, I really appreciate about the design, is that you're recognizing where in the village this falls, and that Zero Place has its sort of architectural character, but going south, it's pretty much peaked roofs of about this pitch. And I thought that worked well. I also personally appreciate that front facade is broken up in a couple of interesting ways, and so it's not going to be a monolithic building. I didn't think to ask, and I can't quite, actually it's not on this, but do you total length of the building parallel to the street?
Mm-hmm. Let's see, I just had that. It's approximately 146 feet long.
Okay, yeah. So that, I hope, sort of makes my point that we've got interesting things going on with the two roof lines. We've got things on the facade that, you know, definitely break up 146 feet. And those are just a couple of my observations. We're having a discussion here, everyone. This is not anything we'll ever vote on. So unless we vote to make a specific recommendation, but we're in a consultative role here. So I would just open it up to people's comments or questions.
I've got a question. Is there any effort for any solar collection or solar panels or any building design to make it a LEED building, or is it not the case?
No, they don't meet the New York State Energy Code.
Okay. Okay.
I'm so sorry, my internet just hiccuped. I didn't hear Kim's answer. I heard the question.
And no, it won't be LEED, but it will meet the New York State Energy Code.
Okay.
And actually, I've got a question about the bike path as proposed. Does that now currently
Go
come
ahead,
down?
Stephen.
Sorry? Does that currently
Oh,
come
please
down?
go ahead, yeah.
Does that currently come down Henry W. and cut over Church and then cross Mulberry to get to the rail trail? Is that going to be rerouted down to the proposed stoplight? So it goes straight down Henry W. and across at that intersection of North Chestnut and Henry W.
Currently, it goes nowhere. So there was no plan when they developed that to go down Henry W. They had no plan and no idea what to do. So we are the solution and their only plan so far.
Okay, so what is it that, is it just the Empire State Trail that crosses, or that turns right down Henry W. and goes over Church and then down Mulberry? I mean, there's the signage and the paint on the road.
Yeah, so I guess I was referring to the new plan. It would just end at Henry W. and then you would get on a bike path that's not the Empire State Trail and then make a left on your own to Mulberry.
Okay.
I think I'm correct that Stewart's will be putting in a stoplight there as part of the project. So this obviously is a lot more logical to have a fixed stopping point and then be able to go straight. I mean, I really applaud that part of the design.
Yes, and in addition to the stoplight, they're also going to be putting in a turning lane that you can see on the site plan.
Oh, we can see it?
Yeah, from 32 left up Henry Du Bois.
So funny. I thought I was like dreaming.
That's proposed.
I just shifted the image to the site plan.
Yeah. I guess my concern. Oh, sorry. Did I cut off anyone?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And I guess it's really just like a town concern in general. I just like traffic. But I do like, I love that extra lane. I mean, I think that's going to help a lot. That intersection really does need some help. But I guess my only concern, I guess, with the traffic wise is that it'll like funnel traffic down Mulberry onto Main Street. Which I guess is not like necessarily a bad thing because that is where the African American burial ground is, and there are other sites down there. Just thinking about through traffic, that's all. But I do like the extra. I like the turning lane, and I like the. I mean, I like the look of it for sure.
Yeah, the turning lane and all that work isn't part of our project. That's part of the, I want to say, the Stewart's project. Mo, you might know better.
I think it just helps
Yeah.
So but that's cool to see on the plan, so I appreciate that you included that as well on the plan. So
Yeah, the turning lane is their deal. The state approved it, and the town is obviously looking forward to bringing some clarity to that intersection, because right now it's just a mess. People,
Yeah.
it's not well done right now, so we definitely need a fix.
You know, as I've been learning about Henry W. Du Bois, I think one of the reasons to be a through road, and you probably know this better than I do, Mo, but it's only in people's lifetime, maybe 30 or 40 years ago, that it was cut through. And it just sort of became this bypass with a lot of traffic, resulting in that crazy corner. Shall we go back to the elevations and invite other comments, suggestions, questions?
I can scroll to the second page as well if anybody wants to see the other elevations.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. I know that height is a sensitive issue in the village, and I was just curious about the comparison with Zero Place. Do we know how the heights of the two projects relate to each other, or what's the difference between the height of your proposed project and Zero Place? Just to have a reference.
Mohammed, you guys might know the height of Zero Place. I forget specifically what it is. The zoning says it wants 40 feet, but when I did my building at 40 feet, it looked really squatty and it looked terrible. And so, Roddy and I said, okay, well, let's do what looks good there. And what I like about it using the sloped roofs is that it's 44 only right at the peak, and then it goes right down from there. And even the distance, the dimension from the ground up to where the roof starts is actually less than what the maximum for the zoning. And I want to say, maybe Mo knows better, but I think Zero Place is 50, because I think that's what the zoning was at the time. And then they have all their equipment on top of the roof on top of that. So what we're trying to do was we're sort of like that transition project, we're trying to sort of not go all the way from there, all the way down to Village Pizza, but sort of have that pretty transition between the two. But I just couldn't do it with the 40 feet. It was almost like the zoning wanted a flat roof. And we're like, no, because we're the transition to the sloped roof. So that's why we decided to take it and go to get a variance for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Zero Place is 50 plus. And I think it's a significant plus because of the elevator shaft. So I think it might be 58 at that one spot. But yeah, it's significant where the elevator shaft goes up.
I have a newspaper article that says it's 44 feet, 8 inches with 15 feet of roof structure.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, when Kim and I talked in late November, I wrote down 44.8 for Zero Place, but I don't think we knew the mechanicals. So you're not far.
Yeah.
Did I break up there, everyone? I'm having
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
I'm having another really bad internet night. That's the number that we talked about when I spoke to him, 44.8 inches. And Kim and Mo, your wing peaks are 44.7 and the accent peak is 42. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if it helps to imagine, the peak is about equivalent equivalent to the peak of zero place mass mechanicals, and it slopes downward. So the sense of mass is different.
Right. And the roof slopes on our building on the ends, which is the part that was kind of making it tall, are 7-on-12 versus when I tried to meet the 40-foot max, it was 4-on-12. And, you know, you see a lot more of the steeper roof pitches throughout the village than you do the flatter ones. So again, that just sort of helped us decide which way to go.
Got it.
I think the building will be a good addition to the neighborhood.
I do too. If everybody's comfortable, Val, could I ask you to go to a couple of the renderings, especially from the street side?
Will there be a sidewalk in front?
Mm-hmm. If you look at the site plan,
Let me go back there. Hold on.
yeah,
Sorry, you just left the site plan. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, we're at, yeah, there's also some parking spots in front of the building as well. I believe that the mayor had an idea where if, when you have on-street parking, it tends to slow traffic down also.
Okay. I mean, it's just that, I mean, there's a sidewalk in front of Zero Place, nothing in front of the auto shop currently, and nothing great in front of Village Pizza. So that would be an improvement to pedestrian traffic.
Yeah. And we will have landscaping there. We just didn't get that far yet. Also.
Yeah.
They look great.
Sue, Chris, Camilla, anything you'd like to share?
I really like the design and I don't know if you would go with the same type of windows that are on the renderings, but it's nice that you incorporated mullions and not just an open pane of glass, which also relates to the historic nature of the neighborhood, since it's so close to Huguenot Street. And I really like that the facade is broken up and the different colors as well. Would you be using hardy board or what kind of siding are you proposing?
We're not 100% sure yet on the color accent pieces. Those would have to be a hardy board because they're actually these panels that we use. And we would like to try to use vinyl for the white part, a good vinyl, of course, but we'll have to see how they go together with the hardy and see how it works with that. But so the idea too is to use some colors that you would find either in the village or on Huguenot Street or something to sort of continue to bring those things together. But at the same time, maybe have a little bit of a modern look here and there, you know, just to tie the two, again, trying to tie the two together.
And I noticed that there are some stone details on the bottom of the building. Would that be just stone facing or real stone or perhaps brick?
Yeah, it would be at this moment in time, it's just a stone veneer. I don't know. We were kind of trying to stay away from brick because that's what Zero Place has. And but on some of it, like in front of the blue, at the base of the blue accent, we have, you know, a little bit more stone again to try to break it up a little bit like you would see in a regular village. So yeah, we haven't selected what type of stone yet, you know, size or anything like that, but it's sort of like a base for the building.
Thank you.
Sue and Chris, any thoughts to share or questions?
Let me know if you need me to move the images.
I think everything looks great. I'm excited, honestly. So
And
I
Steve,
also like wrapped up on the blue. Sorry, with the stone facade that you just pointed out. I like that a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, I prefer to do it this way rather than trying to make it symmetrical, because then it just looks like, I don't know, like a giant house.
Yeah.
And in reality, when buildings are built, they're all a little bit different. So that was sort of the driving force behind it.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's really successful, Kim. It ends up almost being like townhouses. Um, let me just give a chance for Pat to weigh in. So she's going to text me if she has questions or comments. Kim and Mo, I just wanted to get back to an observation I had, and I think I shared with Kim and Andy. Pat is very happy with it. Looks impressive, is what she said. I'm still not sure about those shed roofs on the side. And I just wonder if we could have a conversation about those. So the image that we're looking at now has a hipped roof in the middle, the longer portico or entryway. That looks right to me. And the shed style on the two wings just don't to me. And I don't know if I really have a theory about why, but I just wondered what your thinking was, whether there's anyone else who sees it that way, what your openness or closedness would be to thinking about making them hipped as well.
The one, so you're talking about the two that flank, like the middle larger one?
Yeah, so unfortunately there are two white cars, but there's a white car in the middle, and that's right in front of an entryway that's hipped, meaning it's got little angles on the side. And then the other white car and the two green cars are in front of another shed style.
I kind of like it only, or just because I think it breaks it up similar to the way that the stone on the blue facade breaks it up. It kind of gives, I don't know. That's just my, but I was thinking I actually do like the way that they come down and don't have the side, if that's where you're.
Mhm. That's definitely what I was raising.
Yes, it looks almost like a retractable awning or something that we see on other buildings. On what was that restaurant on Chestnut
Oh,
that was
yeah,
converted into a church recently? They have awnings, kind of like
that's
the
right.
shed roof.
Yeah, that's the Academy.
Yes, Academy Street. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think the roofs were like that so that the lighting that's built inside the roofs would be really just pointing down like that, so that the lighting would really just light up that doorway, that entryway, so that there wasn't like more light pollution. You know,
Okay.
I mean, that's why I can't really speak because Kim came up with this idea, but that it's slanted so hard like that so that the lighting is focused.
Directed toward the door. That makes
Right.
sense.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
But I think the one on the side, that basically it would be like the north side and the south side, those do look to be hipped.
Yeah.
It's really just those.
Yeah.
And those are those entrances with the shed awnings, like you're saying. Those are for commercial businesses. That would be where the commercial entry is.
Okay.
Where the hipped ones, they all have, those are for residential entrance.
Okay. I lost the very last part, Mo. The side entrances, do those lead up to apartments or are they emergency exits?
They lead up to apartments.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, it was, like Chris said, it was really just another way to help break it up a little bit. I even thought about doing, I forget what we did at the back side of the building, but some of them, I even thought about not doing posts for a couple of them, but doing brackets to hold the roofs up.
Mm-hmm.
because that's another way to help, have a different look. And it will, okay, so I did post on the back too, but we might even be able to do, even on those, do brackets instead, so there are no posts. It allows them to clear snow a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So there's that too.
Kim, that's a really good idea that I hadn't thought of, but it does break it up, and it's definitely for Mo and Roddy going to save some maintenance, because everybody who moves in and out is going to knock mattresses and dressers against those posts.
Right. So we may take another look at that at least with the shed roofs. With the hip roofs, they're a little bit of a bulkier structure, and they do tend to, they're planted at each end of the building. Again, those are main entrances for the apartments. And then the main one in the front, which is under the red accent, that to me was sort of like, it's the middle of the building. And there are, I think, two entrances into the building at the red. Yeah. So that is more like that front porch kind of look. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I did it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the image that we're looking at, I think one of the things that is hitting me about the shed roof is it seems lower and kind of dark and oppressive in a way. And I don't know, is it that maybe it's just sited a little lower on the building?
It may actually just be, I'll look at the elevation, but it may actually just be the rendering itself. Yeah, because on the elevations that I drew, the bottom of that shed roof is actually lined up with the top of the door. So it's a little bit different than what the renderer showed it as.
That would definitely relieve some of the feeling I'm getting, but it's also very subjective. I'm not doing anything except sharing an opinion. What occurred to me too, Kim, is, maybe just little stone pediments could also mix up those posts in front if you're looking to vary it. Some of them could be wood or, composite to the ground. Some of them potentially could be, on a 2 or 3 foot pediment.
Mm-hmm. Like a base for a column kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Just a thought.
Kim, are there apartments on the first floor, or is that solely commercial?
On this side that we're looking at, that's all commercial. And then, so we have about 3,500 square feet of commercial space. And then on the back side, facing the rail trail, there are 3 apartments, and one of which is the required handicap accessible apartment.
Okay, so, and then access to the upper floors is solely by stairs. There's no design for an elevator in the building?
Right, we don't need one because our handicap apartment, we're only required to have one, and it's on the first floor.
Got it.
Great. My last thought, and then I really will stop, is I would love to see this be in hardy board rather than vinyl. And I don't know what the price difference involves. I think you'll probably find it I'm speaking mostly to Mo and Roddy now, I think you'll find it a more durable material, because undoubtedly, the siding's going to get knocked with that many residences and commercial, that much commercial space. So I personally would like to see you explore the hardy board, which I think also would match better with the 3 decorative elements, and I think be a little more in keeping with what we're trying to do in terms of preservation. If vinyl just has to be the answer, I think I mentioned this, Kim, at our meeting. I don't know any name brands or anything, but there's a type of vinyl that comes in much longer sections than the usual 10 or 12 feet, and therefore prevents seams, and therefore prevents, weather eventually getting in there. It's just a much better product all around. But I'm afraid I don't have any name brands or any details on that. I just know what they are.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll pass that on to Roddy, and we'll definitely consider it. We're talking to GC companies now, so we're in the process of doing, picking out materials and stuff like that.
Great. Mo, you're always welcome to come back, at any phase if you want to have a consult. I mean, that's really what we try to do.
May I
Thank
ask one
you.
more quick question?
Sure.
Just traffic flow, is it one way in on North Chestnut and one way out on Mulberry, or is it two ways from each of the access points?
It'll be it's one way. So you go in where kind of like where the rail trail is going to go, and then come out at Mulberry.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments, questions, observations? Okay. Commissioners, is there anything in particular you'd like me to communicate to the planning board? I'll write a follow-up message to the chair right after this meeting. And what I'm hearing from this conversation is definitely general approval. Some questions around the entryways, some questions around the siding. Have I missed anything? There was a question around the stone facing, but I don't think there's any real consensus or firm direction, just to be thinking about those things. Does that sound about right?
Sounds fine.
Okay. And we're all happy with the height and the general mass?
No objections.
Okay, great. So Kim and Mo, thank you very much for attending. We just about stayed within half an hour, which doesn't always happen. And I mean that very sincerely. I mean, this is going to be a very significant part of the NBR. We're really at your service if we can help you think through materials or any of these nuances as things go forward.
Great, thank
Great.
you.
Well, we appreciate everyone's input. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everyone on the commission. And we're sure to stay in touch.
Great. Thanks for bringing us good designs.
Thanks.
All right, thanks.
All right,
Thank
good
you.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Great. Thanks, everybody. So I think we can press on to item B3. And that's just a little bit of an update, as well as a little show and tell. I have been in touch with our two awardees, and I wonder, Val, if you could bring up the draft certificates. I think.
I have them on separate tabs, so if you want to start with Mark and Deborah's, I can move
Yeah,
on to
let's do that
Ingrid's.
because actually, Chris, I wanted to maybe hit you up for some additional wording here. So the quick headlines is that I've been in touch with both recipients who are delighted to be recognized and will happily accept our recognition. I'm a little short on phrasing on the certificate for Mark and Deborah. It seemed to me exterior improvements kind of covers the painting of the house. The gardens are pretty strikingly original. It may be enough to say this. It may be that we want to say something about the neighborhood.
Improvements in gardens. Trying to think. I mean, I guess like for like I'm trying to think of the wording. Like outstanding garden stewardship of some sort. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I mean, honestly, I think it's okay the way it is.
One of the things we could say now that I'm looking at it is at their home. Because generally this doesn't go to homeowners so much as business owners. So maybe we just fill out that line by saying at their home.
Or perhaps you could acknowledge that the improvements improve the neighborhood. I mean, it's certainly their home, but the exterior improvement, improves the neighborhood.
Yeah. For exterior improvements and gardens. Garden.
Or just even put in home exterior improvements and gardens, improving improving the neighborhood or boosting the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I think in
The neighborhood, maybe.
what were you saying, Camilla? Sorry.
Enhancing the neighborhood. I
Yeah,
don't
that sounds better.
Oh, that's
know.
nice. Yeah.
Improvements.
Yeah.
Waiting for the word to come, yeah. For exterior enhancements and gardens stewardship or
Exterior and garden enhancements.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, we are a little limited to how much we can get in there, but for exterior home improvements and garden enhancements, was it? Steve?
Or just in exterior and garden enhancement.
Exterior and garden.
I mean, you probably wouldn't want to have enhancement and improvement in the same black, one or the other.
Although if you
Or-
want to mention neighborhood, I think the original idea was to mention either enhancement or improvement of the neighborhood as well.
Enhancing the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing is we can say all of this when it's presented. We just have to boil it down to about 7 or 8 words.
It's true.
It's really true. And we can also mention their painter by name, which we can't really do on one certificate. How about creative garden enhancements?
That sounds great.
Sure.
It does. Mhm.
Exterior improvements and creative garden enhancements. And we'll just let the neighborhood be implicit. We can say that in the presentation. I'm not sure that people living on Prospect and John necessarily want to hear that their neighborhood needed to be enhanced. So maybe we go gently with that.
But if you walk by Grove and John, you might maybe agree that their enhancements could be needed.
Yeah. How does for exterior improvements and creative garden enhancements?
Sounds good.
Fine.
Val, were you able to get that language?
Yep, got it.
Good. How about the second certificate? See, this one's a little easier because a key business district really does seem to fit that part of Front Street.
Yeah. I like
Seems
that one.
fine.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Looks fine to me too.
Yeah.
Okay. So Val, I think going forward, if you don't mind making changes to Mark and Deborah's, then we have to figure out how to get these printed. And the best I'm coming up with is either the campus print shop or PDQ.
Well, since it's not yet the spring semester, I can probably get on campus this week.
Okay.
before classes start without having to worry about the quarantine requirement.
Oh, and I have to do that too. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, well, that would be a real streamlining.
I'm hopeful.
Okay. That would be great. The last thing we need to talk about is we were given 2 dates for presentation at the village board, and I wondered if anybody had a problem with either one. It would be nice if people could tune in for the 10 minutes or so that this is presented. Val, do you have those dates?
No,
handy?
I don't right offhand, but I think I can get them for you quickly. Hold on a second.
Okay, I can also.
I want to say it was the 27th of January and the 10th of February.
And 27th, Feb 10. Anybody know of a problem on either of those days that would automatically prevent you from?
No, not for me.
They should be fine.
What time on the Wednesday do you know? Would it be like after 5?
Yeah, it's 7.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, then I'm okay.
And Chris, it's really very brief. The whole thing can't be more than 10 minutes.
And we always ask to be toward the top of the agenda. So usually we're started by what time? 7:10, 7:15?
Yeah. Yeah. How about this, everyone? I'll ask for January 27th with a plan B of February 10th. And that way we will do the 2020 awards in the month of January if all goes well.
But
Sounds fine.
Great.
And Tom, before we leave this topic, for the record, do you want to just explain why we have just 2?
Yeah, you read my mind. I was just going to say, I think it was a very good idea to back off Stewart's this year. Our minutes show that we identified 3, but we can just adjust in this month's minutes. I think that the path of prudence is to let that play out so that this time, or roughly this time next year, there isn't any question about anything. So I think that was Steve and Camilla making that suggestion, and I think that's a really good one. Is everybody's, I take it, comfortable just waiting a year on Stewart's and the Ann Oliver House? I mean, we actually might have a nice opportunity to celebrate a new property owner by that time, as well as Stewart's, but we'll see where we are. Okay. So Val, I think let's just let the record show that we're acknowledging a change in strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. So item number 4 is really 3 in 1. Chris, is there anything you wanted to report about the garden project at the African American Burial Ground?
Not like in any landscaping or major any landscaping things. As mentioned on the minutes for the last one, we're probably going to wait till spring if we do end up doing anything else at all. But I was wondering if anyone had any thoughts on, and I would obviously have to get the approval of obviously the property owner, but putting a light just so that the sign can be read at night. Just like a solar powered kind of like light that'll just illuminate the sign so that it can be read, just because right now if you pass it at night, there's no street light over by that way and it's pretty pitch black. And at the Elting Cemetery, there are streetlights over there, so you can. So it was just something that I would do personally at some point, but I would obviously have to get the approval of just to make sure that I believe it's who's the property owner again? I'm
Janet
Janet
Salt
Salt.
Farmer.
I was like blanking. Just to make sure that she would be okay with having that, but I can't imagine it would be an issue. I think I've mentioned it before. It was just something I thought of the other day as I passed it at night.
Mhm. I like the idea, Chris. I do foresee a sort of technical challenge, which is I don't think we would want anything attached to the sign itself. And then you
No.
get into upward facing lights. So it'd have to be pretty dim or else we're contributing to, upward light pollution.
Yeah.
But there may be ways around that I'm not thinking of. Maybe side lighting.
I'm certainly not thinking like a spotlight of any sort that's going to be beaming up at it. I'm just something that you would be able to read it in passing if you were walking by at night. But again, it's not, there are no like solidified plans. It was just something I was thinking of recently.
Okay.
We can just look into different types of solar lights and what would be appropriate, and then find a good solution.
Maybe a way to put a post a couple of feet away on the house side, cast kind of sideways light.
Yeah, well, and then the other issue becomes obviously upkeep and everything else. Just because those don't last forever, they'll need to be replaced at some point. So there are different. But as of now, most things are just holding off till spring anyway. So
Yep, I think that's certainly true of the next item, which is just to remind you that the ground penetrating radar doesn't really even work under these conditions. And I'm not sure we have the enthusiasm of property owners. So I'm just going to not think about it for a couple of months and then get back to them. Does anybody have anything else by way of research or other updates around African-American history?
I did touch base with Susan, but wasn't able to connect with her. Just
Okay.
FYI.
Okay. Item number 5 is no report. I just haven't had time to sit down and think about ways of writing it up. But I think what I'd like to do is be able to report next week or next month rather, that I've talked to the mayor and gotten a sense of whether there's any chance we can move forward during COVID, or we just have to wait until real public hearings can happen. I just don't know. Camilla, how about the art show and the press release?
Well, it seems like we had a bit of an issue with our latest press release. Information they printed was not as detailed as we may have liked. But I think that since we are going to have another press release promoting this year's show, it might be overkill to correct the old press release. We don't want
Yeah,
to over.
I agree.
I agree. It's just one of those things.
The newspaper with all our releases. But I sent everyone a draft of the new press release promoting this year's show, which is very similar to what we had last year. And I think it's safe to say that we should be thinking of another online show this year instead of
Oh yeah, I think.
in-person one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but it's
I
just,
apologize. That's one thing I didn't think to prepare for showing on the screen.
oh, that's okay.
But I think everybody has it, Camilla.
Uh-huh.
When were you thinking, Camilla, that should go out?
Last year we printed it, I think, in February. At least the date on it was February 15th. If we could do it at the end of January, that would be nice.
Okay.
And, I just thought of something else to add to the release. I didn't include it in my draft, that artists could send me a short bio or artist statement if they wanted to be included next to the artwork. I think it's always a nice touch, so viewers can learn more about the artists. And we
That's
didn't really
exciting.
have an opportunity to do that during the live exhibits. So this will be a nice addition.
I think that's lovely. Camilla, do you think, I mean, we're meeting early in February on the 8th. If you wanted discussion of the press release, we could schedule that for the 8th, or if you feel like it's under control and can be handled by email suggestion, then of course, let's do that.
Yes, I think maybe it's good to do it. If we can do it by email, that would be great.
Okay.
And then we can have it printed as soon as possible, just to give more time.
And where would the printed copies go this year? Manny's and places like that?
Oh, I meant to print it in the newspaper.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we didn't have any flyers last year.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Camilla, if you wouldn't mind just resending that after the meeting, then it's kind of at the top of everybody's email box.
Yes, and I will include my latest suggestion about the biographies or artist statements as well.
Mhm.
And then we have an update from Zach.
I'm going to try sharing Zach's screenshot, but I'm not honestly sure how well it'll work, but we'll see.
Okay.
So he has been working on our archives, and hopefully soon it will be up and running. And he just sent us a rendering of what it would look like with some stock images.
All right, it doesn't look like it's going to my screen share. Can anyone see it?
No.
Okay, so I'm not seeing it on YouTube either. So I did forward it to everyone, so you should have it in your email.
Yeah.
This sounds great, Camilla. Thank you. And thanks for the continuing work on the archives, which we'll get there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And whatever additional materials Zach requests, I will be in touch with him and
That sounds
and
great.
everything on.
Please note on the forwarded message from Zach, he had a couple of particular interests for feedback. So, we can either collect them for Camilla to respond for everyone maybe, or you can respond individually. I don't think he'll mind either way.
Okay. That's great. Sue, anything to report?
I don't think there's really anything new going on that I'm aware of anyway.
Okay. And I actually don't have anything to report on 181 apart from the fact that we did send a registered letter.
Certified letter.
Or certified, yeah,
right,
sorry.
With return receipt, which was not in my box at Village Hall today. So I don't actually know for sure that it's been received.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's keep our ears to the ground. Is there activity at the house, Val?
No, I think there was maybe one evening several weeks ago that it looked like there was some activity, some additional lights on, but that hasn't been the case now for weeks.
Okay. All right. Let's go to item 9, which is the design your own camp menu. I think Val, you had sent out that information maybe a week or two ago.
Yeah, about that. I mean, it's actually linked in the agenda as well.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that the camps would be like, there would be a couple of specific programs available, but that doesn't seem to be the case. This camp menu that is linked in the agenda gives a couple of possibilities. It is some examples of camps that have been offered before. But I think what they're looking for people to do is to figure out what you need and then ask for assistance, sort of, and design your own program.
I've made a note to myself to really give that a look and wonder if we might want to put together something that would suit our particular needs. it's actually, in a strange way, it's a good opportunity for us to get some expertise without the expense and disruption of travel.
Mhm.
Okay, so I made a note to do that, and please, anybody else look into it. So 58 Elting Avenue, as we say here, consultation was declined. I think that, partly makes the case that we should be a mandatory part of the process. There are a lot of unhappy neighbors on that street, and I think some of that unhappiness was probably preventable. I didn't actually click through, Val, to see if there's any development on the Lalo Group plan.
Nor did I in the last week or so. And I think our last communication with Alana was that there hadn't been any further updates to the plan.
Okay. Maybe we'll make that an action item just to check in and see what we can find out.
Okay.
27 it is. Val, annual mailing?
Okay, let me shift here. All right. This is the letter with a lot of red in it.
Yeah.
A couple of things going on. This was mostly my thought of reorganizing some of the existing content so that what appears under the heading of what the preservation law requires is actually related to what's in the law and less sort of procedural issues. So that's mostly the attempt there. And then the other thing, which Tom had mentioned, really has to do with an alert that we're meeting remotely. I didn't find an easy way to add that on the first page, but I have a bold-faced draft statement on the second page that seemed to fit better with where we were talking about the meetings. And then I think the only other question on this really is more related to the schedule and what is preferred for next January, realizing that Steve has a problem with the fourth Mondays generally.
Right. And that's a standing thing, right, Steve? Fourth
Yeah,
Monday.
my other board meeting.
Great.
Yeah, fourth Mondays are tough for me as well, but
Well, I'm happy to go with the second. All I need to do really is talk with Alberta and make sure that we can get it changed on the village calendar without a problem.
I think it's fine. I mean, the fact that two of you have problems with that week points to January 10th pretty clearly.
Okay. I will move forward on that then. How about the content though? Does anyone have any recommendations or requests for clarification or anything?
Looks really good. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a good improvement.
Excellent.
I think it's good, Val.
Great.
Val, my only thing is just the wording of that notice on page 2. And it's pedantic, but I think that everybody knows that novel coronavirus pandemic, it would, if we wanted to shorten, we could just say owing to the COVID-19.
Yeah. And I should have said that this is actually pulled from our legal notices. This is the village attorney's language when we put out legal notices. So I kind of kept that. But you're right. I think for this purpose, we probably could make it a little bit more casual.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we really need a motion, but last chance, any suggestions or amendments? Terrific. That sounds great. So Val, I think please go ahead with the usual mailing. Let's look at part 2.
So the brochure, really, there have only been 2 very minor changes. The center panel here is what would be at the back of the brochure once it's folded. And the only thing we did was, at Tom's suggestion, drop the word new from the reference to the video, because it really isn't new anymore. Otherwise, I bought a little bit of space in the contact information in the lower right corner and added email addresses for both building departments. John Orfatelli took a look on behalf of the town HPC and didn't offer any suggested revisions.
Val, could you scroll back up to the previous page?
Mhm.
And
Oh, the
this
other
is-
issue here was whether we should try to put another notice about remote meetings. I just couldn't find a good place to put it.
My only question, this is actually physically printed.
Yeah,
Okay, would it be possible to get, it's where it says watch our video, to create a short URL as opposed to that? That would be a lot for somebody to sit. If we could have one of those bit.ly, just one of those very short URLs to replace all of that typing in, might streamline the appearance of the document, and it might make it easier for anybody who would want to watch it.
yeah, it certainly would. I mean, I think that first HTTPS blurb is the short version. I don't know if there is a bit.ly variation.
Oh,
But,
maybe that is as short as it gets. Okay.
Well, to my knowledge, so I could follow up on that and see if there is something more brief.
I'm sorry, I just
other-
read that as one whole URL. So
Well, only
on
the
me.
most of the first line. See that and
Yeah.
brings you
Yep.
down to the HPC's website where it's also posted.
Okay, just my eyes. So that actually is much better than it could be. So no problem.
Okay.
Val, is this up on our website? Do you know?
Is this what? I'm sorry?
Is this document, the trifold, on our website?
Yes, I'm not sure if the latest version of it is. It doesn't seem to always make it there, but at least one version of it is. I don't know how old it is. Both, I think both the letter and the brochure are there, at
Okay.
least the brochure.
You know what I'm wondering is whether I actually thought Steve was going to say something different, which is, it's confusing in a screen environment to realize what the panels are here. Wondering how much work would it be to take those 6 panels and arrange them sequentially like a document for the purposes of the web, and then we could link the watch our video. That could be a direct
Right.
click.
No, that's a really good point. I don't think it would take too much effort at all, honestly. I mean, I'll have to fuss a little bit with the columns, but I don't think it would be too much of a difficulty. And then I'd have both versions of it.
Yeah.
Could I say something? I was just wondering if we could include on the title page, to protect, enhance, and perpetuate the architectural heritage of New Paltz. Please, in case it might mean that we would like to perpetuate some other heritage.
Kind of heritage, yeah.
That we are not necessarily, or we are not endorsing or supporting, relating to
I think that's a
slavery.
great idea. We probably want to get John's okay on that.
Yeah.
But increasingly, I think you're right, Camilla, that we just don't want to be associated with a certain kind of heritage thinking.
I'm looking to see whether that was pulled directly from the code, but I don't really think it is. The first paragraph in the narrative part is more likely directly drawn from the code.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem at all.
Val, would you mind just checking with John and giving our rationale? And is there anybody who's against that idea?
Sounds good.
I'm totally for it, Camilla. I think increasingly we've got to make that definition really clear. Okay.
Okay, and I'll try the reformatting idea too and make sure that that gets posted on the web.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Anything else
Cool.
around annual mailings?
I will hope to get this out before February 1 if I can get color prints masters for copying.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. It may take a little longer to get the web version of the brochure up though.
Great. Excellent. Thank you.
Mhm.
Annual report. We have not gotten the request yet, so nothing to report there. I'll let you know when we do. Discussion of 2021 goals. It was pretty sobering and humbling to realize that basically all the goals for 2020 are still in play, especially that first one. So in my thinking, these are still the agenda for the new year. And we hope that COVID's going to let us get back to some of these really important ones. I think I could take care of number 4. It probably can be done. I just don't really feel like I want to take on additional risk or anything. So I think my feeling about the 2021 goals is we'll just keep picking away at them as time permits. Any thoughts on that?
I think they should remain the same, you know.
Just to explain briefly what you're looking at, you may have noticed that on the standing roster part of the agenda version you all get, not the public version, at the top of it are the goals that we have had to date. I just added in and sort of, blended together the holdovers from 2020 and the ones we discussed at last month or at November meeting. But you have them handy every time you get a copy of the agenda. They're right there on the standing roster page.
That's great. And I think number 2 is, very related to what you just said, Camille, about the trifold, just kind of looking at how we're presenting ourselves. Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. Term expirations this year, myself as chair and Pat as member, that'll come up we probably should have that conversation in March because I believe the expirations are all May. Is that correct, Val?
Yeah, it would be the tied with the new fiscal year. So the expirations would be the end of May. New
Right.
terms effective June 1st.
Great. So Pat, at some point I will talk to you privately, maybe when we're talking about your roof, and we can talk about that. And then maybe Val, let's get that on the agenda for March.
I think that's where I have it in the standing roster typically.
Yep, that makes sense. And then last of all is we just a few days ago got the paperwork for the fiscal year 21-22 budget. Typically what I've done is just carried over the budget because we tend not to use the whole thing anyway. But does anybody feel like there's a category or a something that we should be budgeting for that would depart from previous budgets? It's remained, partly because we're so careful about spending, it's just remained a pretty simple exercise every year. I'm trying to remember if that's due. I think it's due at the end of this month.
It might be. I'd have to check Ariana's email message.
If it's not, I will bring it up for ratification. But if it's due, I think I've just got to get forward. I mean, I'll send it by email as a draft. But we don't want to be late with our budget request.
I'm looking it up now. I don't see a due date on it.
Okay. Well, why don't we just stick to that if I can bring it back for ratification, I will. And if I can't, if there isn't time, I will proceed with just revising last year's budget, and I'll let you know.
I'm going to the Google Doc to see if it has a date on it. I am not seeing it. Yeah, I don't see a due date anywhere.
Okay. Let's make that an agenda or an action item, though. I'll get right on it, everybody. Just a couple of very last things, and then we can wrap up. I was hoping we would hear more about the Ann Oliver House request for proposals, and I don't really know anything that I didn't know at the last meeting, but I do think that once they have applications, I don't really even know what the deadline is. It looks like January 19th public hearing for the subdivision. I would assume things will move pretty quickly after that. I've always kind of assumed that we would need to offer a couple of people to sit on that ad hoc committee to review applications. I don't know that for a fact, but I would hope we would be part of the committee. So maybe you could just let me know by email if you would be willing to serve on that ad hoc committee. I would think that what it would mean is 1 or 2 virtual meetings to review applications. I can't think that it would be a ton. You know, it might be a half dozen applications. But as soon as I find out more, I will let you know. And the only other thing on my mind is just the short-term rental law is actively being talked about now. I have wondered if we wanted to make any kind of public statement or any official statement on behalf of the HPC, or we can just leave it alone. Not hearing a lot of enthusiasm for that, so we can just see how it plays out, I guess. Okay. Is there any other business that we haven't considered?
Kind of skipped over the current budget report.
Oh, yeah, of course I did. Sorry, worried about the other. Val, do you
Yeah,
mind
no, I know.
correcting that?
It's pretty straightforward. We, as of December 31st, with 58 1/3 of the year or percent of the year completed, expenses were just under 40% of budget.
That's kind of how our budget works. Thank you for everybody being so careful with money. Is there anything else? Anyone? Okay. I appreciate everybody's input and efforts. We've got a couple of things that'll be coming our way from Camilla, and a couple of things that I will do in the background and report back. And I hope everybody stays well and healthy and out of harm's way. And we'll see each other on the 8th. How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Yay.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody. And Pat agrees to adjourn. Thank you, Pat. I'll be in touch privately, Pat. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Pat. Val, I'm going to log out and I'll give you a quick phone call.
Yep, give me about 5 minutes, please.
Okay, will do. Thank you for running everything.
Sure, thank you.